Hey, in this video, you're going to meet a family law attorney who scaled his law firm from $74,000 a year to $1.5 million the next year. And here's the cool thing, he only works anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a week. You're going to see why many of the habits that lots of lawyers have and kind of wear as a badge of honor are actually holding you back. And he's going to give you some tips and tricks that are going to allow you to make more money and have more free time than you've ever had before. If you've ever wondered what it takes to build a law firm that doesn't actually require you but still profits a crazy amount of money, then this interview is for you. Check it out. You know, you're running a seven-figure firm right now and you don't, I mean, how many hours a week are you working right now? You're working like 2 to 4 hours a week, I think is what you told me. But like, what was it like in the beginning? Can you tell me for somebody that wants to get to where they have not only a seven-figure firm, but more importantly, I mean, well, if you're working only, let's say you work 4 hours a week, that means you get 36 hours back every week. What were you doing before? I want to hear where you were before you were doing this.
Yeah, yeah, great question. And it was definitely not always like this. My first year in practice, I did 74,000 in gross revenue and kept 14 of it. So effectively made minimum wage. And I was working crazy hours. I remember working one time at the office until like 2 o'clock in the morning because I had 10 cases and I just didn't know how anybody could handle that many cases at once. So it's come a really long ways from where I started out. And it was really at the end of that first year that I was like, man, I either need to go get a job and make some real money, or I need to figure out how to treat this law firm like a business. And I got a lot of advice from old attorneys when I first started, and that advice was very bad. Clients, attorneys don't need to market. If you're good at what you do, you'll have enough clients and those types of things. Um, and so I spent the next 4 years like just studying every business book I could think of. Most of my favorites are here behind me, and learning how to run this like a business instead of a law firm. At that end of that fifth year, I was making 500,000 a year, keeping about half of it and working about 20 to 25 hours a week. So that's when I finally felt like, okay, I'm making enough, not nothing to, nothing crazy, but enough to support my family and live the lifestyle I want and kind of go from there. But it was really just that studying of non-attorney business books that got me there.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny that you mentioned the bad advice from attorneys. And I mean, I'm sure you know, I run, I mean, hundreds of ads constantly, right?
Yeah.
And it's first of all, it's funny because people think that I'm a lawyer. So a lot of times, and it's not even lawyers that are commenting on my stuff, but people will be like, "Oh, if you're such a great attorney, why do you need to advertise?" I'm like, first, buddy, I'm not even advertising for legal services, but
Yeah.
there's such a misconception that just being good enough is enough, right? And it really isn't. There's no correlation with being good at your thing and getting paid for it. There's a direct correlation with being good at marketing your thing and getting paid for it. But it's more than just marketing. It's also running it like an actual business. So what was that shift like for you where you stopped running it as I'm the lawyer who's actually doing the work and staying up until 2 o'clock in the morning and having my hand on everything to I'm a business owner and that business happens to be a law firm and I happen to be a lawyer?
Yeah. Um, for me, I had to come to the realization that I was here to solve people's problems, and that didn't always have to be me that was doing the work,
Mm.
right? Like, I don't have to be the one who stuffs an envelope with a letter, right? Like anyone can do that. In fact, lots of people are better at that than I am. And there's a lot of areas of the practice that I had to realize that other people are better at doing that than I am. Even if I'm good at it, if as a good attorney, I'm busy, And so I don't have time to sit in the client portal all day and answer people's questions. But I can hire someone to answer people's questions. And so once I switched from trading my time for money and just billing by the hour to who's my ideal client? What problem do they have? And then what's the fastest, best, and most affordable way to solve that problem? And let other people do as much of that as possible. That's when things really shifted for me and my cash flow skyrocketed.
What was the first thing that you gave up and what was the hardest thing to give up?
The first thing I gave up was answering the phones. I think that was one of the best things I did was just remove myself from being available to answer people's questions 24/7 by phone. Um, so I would have to say either not answering the phones was the best, or I probably would say the best thing I gave up was my email inbox, letting someone else manage, sort, answer as much of that as they can. And then once a day, I go in and there's a list of emails that I have to answer. Most of the time, the answer's been pre-drafted by someone else. And so I just review it to make sure it's right, and then hit send on those. And that saved me probably more time than anything.
Okay, so hold on a second. I want to touch on email for a second, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't handle your own email.
No,
Has anyone died?
no.
Okay, good. So it's funny because I talked to I've been like banging this drum for like 5 years, right? So I also don't handle my own email. I actually have an executive assistant. She handles all my. I literally spend maybe 2 minutes a day on email,
Hmm.
and the question that I always get from attorneys is well, don't your clients get mad, or aren't my clients going to get mad? And the answer is no, it's not. I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, there's very few emergencies. I'm doing air quotes. There's very few emergencies that are actually emergencies, right? And it's like honestly, thinking that everything is an emergency is one of the worst things you can do because then you're just reactive to everybody. I talk to lawyers, and I for a while I was doing this survey. It was a non-scientific survey, but I figured out that the average lawyer spends about 3 hours a day in their inbox. Would you say that's probably what you were spending beforehand?
Yeah. And I did one as well that was between 3 and 4 hours. Some attorneys were over
Yeah.
4 hours a
Oh
day.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm just
I
saying the
think you're
average,
right.
right?
Yeah.
That means half or more. But
Yeah.
think about that, right? So okay, so you're a family law attorney. What is your rate? 400 an hour, anywhere from like 250 to 500 an hour, somewhere in there, right?
Yep.
So think about that. Let's say it's $250 an hour, and you spend 3 hours a day. That's $750 of productive work that you're spending in your email, and that's one day. Multiply, expand that out over a year, and you're actually spending 19 and a half weeks in your inbox, and then saying I don't have any time to get anything done, right? So it's a difference in mindset where realizing that, and look, you're a family law attorney. And it's funny because I used to work at a family law firm. That's when I decided. Luckily, I changed my mind, but at that point, I was like, I'm never getting married. This is horrible.
Yes.
But every problem to the client is an extreme emergency. My arm just got cut off. Emergency to them, right? And the truth is, it's not really true. It's how they perceive it, right? So email is such a trap because it will pull you in all these different directions, and you can find yourself where you're literally just responding to emails and responding to the contents of emails and the emergencies in emails, where at the end of the day you look back and you're like, what the hell did I do all day? I didn't get anything done. And I've been guilty of that. I've done that. Years I wasted doing that, and it's an absolute game changer. So if you could talk some sense into some attorneys, because I haven't been able to do it yet, right? And talk to you a couple of years ago and let yourself know that you don't have to respond to every email within 3 minutes. It's like what do people need to hear that they're worried about?
Yeah, it's true because I felt the same way. And it's funny because before I think I felt most productive when I was responding to emails all day. I'm like, I was so busy all day. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'd get to the end of the day, I'm like, but I didn't actually achieve anything, right? I was spinning my wheels, feeling busy to avoid the things that actually make a difference. And again, that's what it came back to for me was I was like, what actually moves the needle forward for these clients? Because responding to an email within 3 minutes, they like that. They think it's cool, but then they're still at the exact same situation they were when I got done with the email. What
Mm-hmm.
actually moves the needle forward, for my cases was mediation and negotiation. That's like the number one thing that settles cases for me. And so I had to say, okay, if I stop doing all these other distractions, how much quicker can I get to the end result? And the crazy thing for us was in our case and at our law firm, we get to mediation in about 3 months. The average is 9 where we're
Hmm.
at. So we're a third the time by just removing all those extra things. And then it's helping the clients understand that. I tell all of our clients, hey, when you call your doctor, do you expect to speak to the doctor? No, right? You call, the nurse takes down your notes. They then go ask the doctor for medical advice, and then they come back and relay the information. So same thing's true here. When you call us, our paralegals take down your questions. They then catch us attorneys when we're running to the bathroom or something, and we have 3 minutes to answer their question, and then they relay it back to you. That's what allows us to be efficient and affordable. But that's also what helps us get the best possible result. And we keep bringing people back to their desired outcome. And when they're focused on their desired outcome, they're happy. It's when they get distracted with all the other things, which do come up. Like my ex was 15 minutes late for pickup. Like I think every weekend we get at least one message. Hey, my ex was 15 minutes late. And the truth is, I'm not the right person to respond to that. I'm not very compassionate about 15 minutes late at this stage in my career. But I've got a gal who is. She's divorced and she gets it. And so she can get on there and be like, man, that sucks. I can't believe he was 15 minutes late. Like, I'm so sorry. That's what they needed. And so let someone else do that so that we can focus on the things that actually drive results.
Yeah, so you bring a good point up, right? Like, if I need to have brain surgery and I call the hospital and the brain surgeon answers the phone, I'm finding a new brain surgeon. I just am, right? And it's funny because, you said intake, answering the phones is actually one of the first things that you gave up. There was actually a post that you put up a couple months ago, I remember, where you actually put a quote up that I had, and it caused quite a stir, because I think the exact quote was, "The best attorneys don't answer their own phones," right? Or maybe it was the most successful. It's probably the most successful attorneys don't answer their own phones. And I still stand behind that 100%, because I believe that I look at things in terms of hourly rate, right? Like what's the best bang for your buck for your energy? Because the only thing that you have is your time. Money or time is infinitely more valuable than money. I will pay my money to buy back my time every single opportunity that I can get. That's why I don't want to clean my own house. I don't cut my own grass. I mean, like I will pay for my time back. So, a lot of lawyers, they don't focus on the right things. They focus on things that are worth $10 an hour, like answering email. Now, maybe you could argue that answering the phones is more than a $10 an hour task, but I guess it really, one, depends who's calling, right?
Yeah.
And secondly, there's probably someone out there that's better at intake, better at sales than an attorney is. And attorneys don't like the word sales, but that's what you're doing, right? If you don't make a sale, if you don't get someone to buy your legal services, you're not going to have a law firm, right? You're going to end up in that situation where you bring home $14,000 a year and you have to go get a job. So, what was the biggest shift in you giving up you answering the phones and you doing intake and you doing all the sales? First of all, how difficult was it? And secondly, what were the results? And just tell me about it so that because I know people are wondering about it.
Yeah. And I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to tell another quick story first, though, because I had a gal that I was working with, and she was the same way. She would not give up her phone. She's like, that's what my clients want. Like, they want to be able to get a hold of me. And it wasn't until she had a client she'd been working with for 2 years, and they got to a difficult point of their case, and they called her up and were like, hey, I'm switching attorneys.
Mm.
Like, what do you mean? Like, we've been working together for years. Like, she considered themselves like friends at that point. He's like, yeah, like this case is getting really hard, and I just want someone who's a little bit more professional and has a team that can handle the difficult issues. And that's when it finally clicked for her. She's like, oh, like, yeah, we're friends, but we don't trust our friends with our legal cases, right? You can do the simple stuff, but it was as soon as it got hard, he's like, I don't think you can handle it. And that's when it finally clicked for her. Um, so that's why I think what you said earlier about the most successful attorneys do that. And the same thing was true for me. I just had to realize that um, I'm not the best person to handle at least the initial call. Like someone calls, like someone can decide, is this a potential client or a current client? Is this a issue that needs to be resolved right now? Can it be resolved later? Like someone else can do all of that and they have the bandwidth to do it. And then if it is something that needs me, like there's no rule saying that they can't come ask me, right? Just a couple of weeks ago, even though it's not my case, one of my attorneys that's working for me handles this case now, but the police are at their doorstep and they need someone right then, and the attorney's in court. And so they come to me, and next thing you know, I'm on the phone with the police officer handling the situation. Like there's no rule saying that I can't answer the phone. I just don't unless they actually need me. So let someone else do at least the weeding through part, and then you can still service your clients. At the end of the day, it's all about providing the most value to your clients that you can, and you can do a better job at that, not doing the simple stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing, is that there's really nothing there's nothing in a business that the leader should be above doing, right? Like, and the truth is that if you look at my business, it's so weird with our business now because we've got over 150 employees and hundreds and hundreds of clients. But I started in 2012. When I started the business, it was me at my kitchen table. Like, I've literally done every single role in the company. And I know how to do it and I don't have a problem doing it again, but I understand that as the company gets bigger and as we go from, one employee to two employees to 10 employees to 30 employees, you have a bigger responsibility to your employees and to your clients, because if you go out of business, then you can't help anybody, right? If you're, going back to the $14,000 a year take home pay and working until 2 o'clock in the morning, although your intentions are the best, is that the best experience for the clients either? Can you really do the best work if you're stressed about your finances and you're stressed about how am I going to get all this stuff done? Like, ultimately, everybody suffers, including the clients. And a lot of times lawyers think that because I'm doing everything, I'm providing a boutique experience and I'm providing this custom, one-on-one experience. But the truth is, like you gave in the example, sometimes a team is going to do better. Well, I'm going to say most of the time, a team is going to do better. A team full of competent employees, that's going to be obviously the caveat there. Right. A team full of competent people is going to do better than just one person, because of the fact that when you put multiple heads together, it's like the mastermind effect. Two heads or two minds become four. But I want to transition real quick. And how do you find the right people? How do you find the people that you can trust to answer your phones, to take on these cases that you're, going to be putting your reputation on the line for? How do you find them and how do you trust them?
Yeah. I I believe most people are good. Um, and most people want to succeed. They just need to be put in the right environment. Um, for me, I focus a whole lot more on looking for specific personality traits than I do skill sets.
Mm,
Um, because I can teach skills, but I can't teach someone to work hard and care.
yeah.
Right. And so that's what's worked best for me, is focusing on people who are willing to work hard, willing to learn. That's probably the most important thing for me, is someone who's willing to learn, and someone who's constantly wanting to get better. Now that last one bites me in the butt sometimes, because if I don't have a place for them to grow in my business, they grow out of my business. But
Yeah.
I still like those people the most. And then we can teach them the skill sets. For me, though, a lot of it's not so much finding the right people, it's helping people realize the most potential in themselves. And for me, that's making sure I'm super clear on what my expectations actually are.
Hmm.
What is considered winning? What are the tools that I can give them so that they can do that as easily as possible? But I'm like, we talk about like systems and stuff, and I don't want to be the McDonald's of legal services. So I don't have a system on exactly how to flip a burger. For me, it's, hey, this is the outcome we want. Here are the tools and the systems you can use to get there. But if you need to deviate from this system so that this outcome's achieved, go for it. Because results are more important to me than methods. And then giving them opportunities to learn and grow. Like, they're going to make mistakes. So having good systems to catch those mistakes and help them learn from them and let them know that that's okay. And then just really spending time with them on the back end, like the learning. That we have a weekly meeting, a daily huddle, quarterly reviews. Like, we do all these things to give them as many resources so they can to succeed. And then because we have clear metrics, where they know what's expected of them, they also know if they are or are not meeting them. And if they're not, then it's not a surprise when they get let go, right? Like, if we've given them a metrics, they're not meeting it. We talk about why they still can't get there. Ultimately, when they get let go, they're grateful that they say, "Hey, this wasn't the right fit for me."
Yeah, yeah, that's actually a philosophy, is that when somebody gets let go, this is something that, and it's weird because we have so many people, we have HR departments now and everything, but
Yeah.
it should never be a surprise to somebody that they're being let go. And what we found is that the way that you can make sure that, first of all, people know exactly what they're supposed to do, because just because you said it doesn't mean they heard it. And I don't know if you have kids, but I've got multiple kids, and I know that that's the truth. But just because you said it doesn't necessarily mean that they heard it. And unless you give them objective expectations, it's hard for anybody to be held accountable. And objective expectations, the only way I've been able to figure out how to do it is actually have a number. Like you have to, maybe it's hours on desk or billable hours or whatever the KPI is. Every single employee at our company is held accountable by, at least one number. Sometimes it's two, sometimes it's three numbers. And we figure these are the most important numbers that will determine if they can do nothing else and just hit these numbers, then this would be considered successful. And when they don't hit those numbers, it's not a surprise because it also takes the emotion out of it too, because sometimes we really like somebody and we really we want to see them succeed, and as a result we'll give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Maybe some people are better talkers than other people, Yeah. But when you have these numbers, you say, look, these are the numbers, you're not hitting the numbers. It's black and white. It takes all the difficult conversations out of it and just makes it down to facts, right? And I really like what you said, and I 100% agree with you. You don't really hire for skills. Skills are a bonus, but I definitely think that the traits that you mentioned are perfect. The one thing that I always look for, in addition to what you said, is coachability. Are they actually coachable, right? Are they willing to listen to the way that you're guiding them and actually be responsive to that? That's actually something that I found for me is actually my secret to success is that literally when I'm in a coaching program, when I hire somebody to teach me something, I just do what they say, because I figure, so I'm always looking for people like that. Last question that I wanted to ask you about is, what is your life like now? Now that you've actually made the commitment of hiring the right people, you've stepped away, which sometimes stepping away is the hardest thing. Giving up that control is the hardest thing. I know it is for me, but like, what is your life like now that you've done all of this and you've put all this in place?
Yeah. Um, for me, I finally found happiness, or whatever you want to call it, um, by finding my purpose and doing that thing as much as possible. Initially, I thought the goal was to just work as little as possible. And so I got to the point early on in this journey where I was working about 10 to 15 hours a week. And I was playing like 20 to 30 hours of video games a week at work. Like I was here, I have 3 beautiful monitors here. I was just playing tons of games, like just have like what I thought was what success looked like, right? Making money and playing video games, doing whatever I want. And I was miserable. Like that's probably the only time I could say I was depressed, Um,
But
and
cheap dopamine.
yeah, that cheap dopamine. You get home and it's just like, I don't know, your wife and kids are not like, they just drive you crazy because you're not on the dopamine high anymore, right? It was just brutal. Um, and so I had to realize that the goal wasn't to do less. The goal was to do more of the things that I love.
Mm.
So we travel a bunch, me and my family. That's something that we enjoy doing together. Last year we went to Disneyland 4 times. My kids are
Oh,
11,
wow.
6, and 4, and so they're like the perfect Disneyland age. And
Yeah.
other trips fell through, and we had a blast. Um, and so for me, that's what was important: traveling, helping other people, um, making an impact. That's what my why was. Everybody's why is different, and you're gonna have to find what that is for you.
Mm.
But my best advice is, first, build a stream of cash flow, because that's the lifeblood for you and your business. Then buy back your time, like you said, so that you have enough time, money, and energy to do what you love. And then really the rest of your time should be focused on doing those things that you enjoy. For me, it's fun. I love traveling. I love doing stuff with family. I love helping other people, and would never go back to the way before.
Yeah. And what's funny is that I talked to, obviously we both work with a lot of lawyers. There's some lawyers out there that are like, I don't want to try. I like being a lawyer. I like working on cases. I like going to court. I like fighting for clients. And the funny part is that I think that everybody defines freedom a little differently, but the way that I think is the most universal is freedom is getting to choose what you do every single day and not having to do it every single day. So whether you like going to court, whether you like working with clients, whether you want to go on vacation is irrelevant. It's, do you have to work with every single client, or do you get to work with every single client? And you can no, I want to work on this case. This case is interesting. This one, I really don't like this person. This person's just annoying. I don't want to work on this. You know what I mean? Versus having to do what I call door law, which is you literally have to work with every single person that walks through the door because you have no other option and you haven't built systems. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I have one case right now. It's
yeah.
a good friend of mine, and we've known each other for years, and he needed some help. And you know what was really fun? You go to mediation and negotiations, and opposing counsel is like, hey, you guys need to accept this offer because this is Chris's only case. Like, if
Hmm.
you don't take it, he's going to hit you with four motions on Monday because he's got the time and bandwidth. Like, I can't compete with him. And they ended up agreeing to something that they never would normally have agreed to just because it was my only case.
That's gotta be the best negotiating tool ever, right? Like listen, you have 500 cases. I have nothing else to do other than sit there and make your life miserable. So sign the paper.
And it was fun. You know, like when I was handling 80 cases on my own, it was brutal, right?
Hmm.
But now my firm handles way more than that as a team, and I only take the cases I want to take. Like I love the practice of law again.
Yeah.
I didn't for a while, so
Hmm.
I think you're right on there. You don't have to travel and you don't have to buy fancy cars and all that kind of stuff. Like you
Yeah.
can just have a bigger impact, but at least you get to pick.
Yeah, it's getting to choose. Yeah, I was watching this. I was watching this thing on YouTube a couple of days ago, and they were talking about the difference between people that are retired and people that are unemployed. And the people that are retired are significantly more happy than the people that are unemployed and are receiving a paycheck. And the truth is, or sorry, an unemployment check, or I guess they call it reemployment now. But the truth is that both people are not working and they're receiving a set of money. They're receiving money from somewhere, but the people that are retired are significantly happier than the people that are unemployed. And the reason why is because there's a feeling of I'm choosing to be retired versus I'm not choosing to be unemployed. And it's just all about that freedom of choice, so it's all about freedom. And that's why I started my business, however long ago. I had to watch I'm a huge soccer fan. I had to work the entire summer. I remember this. I was 14 years old in 1998 and I had to work the entire summer and I missed the entire World Cup. I'm a huge soccer fan. And that summer, I was like, I'm going to own my own business so I can take the summer off every time there's a World Cup and I will never miss the World Cup ever again. and and that's what I've been able to do. Now I get to watch the World Cup and I get to watch whatever soccer I want and I still get to have a lot of fun and choose what I do every single day. So, Chris, thank you so much for hanging out. This is a lot of fun. And I think that you're inspiring a lot of people out there just because of the fact that you're doing a lot of things that a lot of attorneys have told me is impossible. Especially the email thing. Like if anybody can take one thing away, it's get out of your inbox. That would be my biggest thing away, but my biggest takeaway from this entire thing. But Chris, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And where can people find more information? I know you have a Facebook group and are you on Instagram?
Chris Guyman on Facebook and Instagram. Timefreedomlawyers.com is an email address where I actually have my email SOP there. So if someone wants the exact SOP I use to get out of my inbox, I'm happy to share that with them too. And just if we can get one person out of their inbox, that would be a win for me.
All right, fantastic.